Welcome to the Towards a National Collection Conference and welcome to Manchester. Hope you all got here okay. I'm George Young. I am the Head of Collections and Exhibitions for Manchester Museum, which is just down the road. Plenty of time to visit in your conference breaks. Very recommended. And I'm here basically to do Welcome to Manchester and Welcome to Contact Theatre, which is a fantastic venue. And if you don't know its work, it does brilliant youth-led multi-arts programming, and do check out what they do the rest of the time when they're not a conference venue, because they're a phenomenal place here in the heart of the campus. You are in the middle of the University of Manchester campus. It's a good place to be having this conversation. So I can see colleagues in the Science Museum group in the room who'll be like, please don't tell this story. But for those who don't know, the University of Manchester is the birthplace of the small-scale experimental machine, the world's first stored program computer. So everything you're doing started here. Manchester first. There'll be Liverpool first. And also, University of Manchester is very, very active in this space now. We have a digital futures platform. It is a multidisciplinary platform drawing together tens, hundreds of researchers across this university about what digital needs to be for the future. So it's a brilliant place to be having this conversation, and I just want to do the big welcome to Manchester for all of you. Here in place of Manchester Museum's Director Esme Ward. She will be joining us later. She's flying in directly from Madrid from the CTAF conference, where she's been talking about disco. I don't know if there's rivalry between tank and disco. So very much in the mindset of mass digitisation of collections and the potentials of what that might mean, and how we might go forward with that work. So she'll be joining us this afternoon, so come and say hello in the afternoon break. And I'm going to, at that point, I think, just say I'm really looking forward to hearing what all the work you've been doing over the last few years has turned out to become. And I can't wait to have a combination of like mass data and folk song, which is like, you know, not a conference I usually go to. So at that point, I'm going to hand over to Laura.
Thank you. Morning, everybody. I'm Laura Pye. I'm the Chief Executive of National Museums Liverpool. I'm also a member of the steering committee for Tank. It's obviously a delight for someone from Liverpool to be here in Manchester. There's no rivalry between our two cities at all. No, seriously, it's lovely to be here in Manchester. Two cities quite well connected, normally by water. I mean, in Liverpool, we keep ours in the river. In Manchester, it generally falls from the sky. So don't get too used to the sun, because I'm sure at some point over the 2 days, we'll see some typical Manchester weather, and it will be a delight to see it. I am here just to welcome you and be that northern voice, but just to give you the kind of safety announcements. We're not expecting a fire drill. If there is one, obviously, calmly follow the exit signs and just move your way out, and there'll be people to guide you out. If you can have your mobile phones on silent, that'd be great. Appreciate that, you know, this thing's going on and you might be taking notes or tweeting or doing whatever. That's marvellous. Do that. But if they could be on silent. And the spaces that you're in will be locked in between sessions. So please take everything out with you that you'll need, because you won't be able to get back in between the sessions and things like that. So just do that. And then it is just my pleasure to introduce Roly to you. So Roly, the Chief Executive of the it says British Museum on my notes, and I'm quite sure you're not, Roly. Last time I checked, Roly was the Chief Executive of the British Library, and I think still is until the end of the year. So Roly's going to do a bit of an introduction. Roly, over to you.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you, George. Thank you, everyone gathered here at Contact today here in Manchester. To everyone watching, listening online around the UK and around the world. Welcome to the great city of Manchester. And yes, for those of you who know the city well, I can confirm what Laura just said. It is bright sunshine outside and set to be all day. But we're gathered here to engage over the next day and a half or so in the second and final conference of the Towards a National Collection programme. And my role, by the way, as well as being in my day job, Chief Exec at the British Library, is to chair the steering committee. You probably all know something of the programme, but there may be people for whom actually this is just pure curiosity, and that is great. It is a pioneering major research programme, one of the largest interventions of its kind ever in our sector, and it's been made possible by the Strategic Priorities Fund of UKRI. For those internationally, that's UK Research and Innovation, which is the central core British research funding body, UK research funding body, and it's been delivered through one of their research councils, the Arts and Humanities Research Council, to whom we are immensely grateful for commitment over the years of the programme. Towards a National Collection is based on a simple insight that taken together, the collections held right across the UK in museums, galleries, libraries and archives of all kinds, types and scales, together represent one of the great knowledge assets of the world. But of course, that as things currently are, the full potential of that has not yet been realised for all sorts of reasons that we've been exploring and I'm sure we'll discuss in the days ahead. But looking forward, the belief is that with the right commitment and the right kind and level of investment in skills, in digitisation, capacity, standards, infrastructure, we as a professional community have the potential to deliver a step change in the benefit that we can deliver to all parts of UK society, as well as those of you, some of you I'm sure, watching today, who use or would like to use more and better collections held here in this country. And that means for researchers who are building new knowledge and science, for entrepreneurs looking to innovate and contribute to economic growth and to jobs, for communities who, of all kinds, who may previously have felt excluded from the national narrative as presented by collections, and indeed for any one of us who simply wants to find out more about who we are and where we've come from. So those are the thoughts that I'm sure we'll all be keeping in mind over what promises to be a fascinating and very packed conference programme. At the heart of it will be, in some cases really, going public for the first time, some of the outcomes, results, findings, discoveries from the 5 major discovery projects that have formed the heart of the whole programme. The Sloan Lab, Unpathed Waters, the Congruence Engine, Transforming Collections, and coming up shortly, Our Heritage, Our Stories. And the whole point of this, and indeed of the programme, is that these are not siloed projects. This is all about cross-fertilisation. And today in particular and tomorrow are about the exchange of ideas, the sharing of innovation, and thinking about the long-term potential of all of this, and indeed very practically the next steps. It's particularly great that this is all happening here, as George said, in Contact Theatre, which is itself a beacon and has been for over half a century of innovation, creativity and inclusion, which are themes front of mind for all of us. We will therefore be using every single space, every corner of this remarkable building for presentations, panels, workshops, films, performances. Yes, there will be folk songs. And there is so much that it's not all sequential. Some of it will be happening in parallel, and yet you'll have to make choices, and you will have acute fear of missing out, and that's just the way of a packed festival or conference of this kind. But we will all be coming together for crucial plenary sessions, and indeed coming together, I hope as many of you as possible, for a reception down at the wonderful Whitworth this evening. And then tomorrow, the programme will continue, and it'll be culminating in the public launch of 2 important outputs from the central part of the programme. One of those is a set of policy recommendations called Unlocking the Potential of Digital Collections, and that's really setting a foundation for what might follow in terms of strategic policy and investment in the future. But absolutely equally important here and now is the set of training materials targeted especially at small and medium-sized collection organisations called Towards Digital Collections, because this is also about sharing knowledge and skills and understanding and capacity and indeed working together and learning from each other. So look, I've had the privilege over the past few years of chairing the steering committee of this programme, a remarkable gathering in itself of organisations who don't often get the chance to come together and collaborate. So I want to give out a big shout out of thanks to all colleagues, Laura and others, who've contributed in a very dedicated way to that. I want to thank Rebecca Bailey and the central team, who have held the centre of an extremely complex research programme. Of course, everyone involved, all of you here today, but everyone who's not here today, but who has been so committed to the underlying vision here and really building new knowledge about how to bring collections together. And of course, to our funders, to AHRC, Arts and Humanities Research Council, and UKRI for making the whole thing possible.